Fault finding again, and this was a really tough one. Not so much the fault itself, but the logistics of actually trying to fix it. We got a call from the customer saying that their lighting circuit had randomly started tripping. So we went to investigate and had a look around, and for some reason some of the lights had just stopped working and we couldn't reset the breaker. So first things first is the visuals. It's taking off the switches, taking down the lights and sort of seeing what the condition of the cabling is like and if there's anything obvious or faulty within the lights or switches themselves. It wasn't perfect, but it certainly wasn't a problem visually. Although most of the light fittings only had one cable at them, so it meant there was joints everywhere. Next thing was to get out the tester and start testing the cables between. This was quite tricky being that there was only a single cable, so the next logical option was to start cutting up the floor above the fittings, and unfortunately it was sheet wood, so we had to try and cut up slots in it. Up come the gripper rods, and we had to drill out some of the screw threads because they were all ruined as well, and then it was out with a chop saw to start cutting up small patches above the fittings to try and find the lighting junctions. Thankfully, after all these years, you start getting some instincts about where things might be located, and after cutting up relatively small areas, we were finding lighting boxes straight away. Unfortunately, having found these boxes, when testing it, we'd located that the neutral was faulty. This was obviously a damaged cable somewhere shorting out, but it turns out it was under the bathroom, which had a tiled floor, and there was no way of getting a cable between those 2 points anymore. We tried rodding cables and all sorts of other options, but it just proved that it was never going to work, so we started putting some of the floor back down, and then had the logical idea to supply that particular part of faulty circuit from a fuse spur. It was local, so we could fuse down to that particular area. We disconnected the other part of the section from it now, so that was separated over 2 separate components to that circuit. That way it reinstated a new feed and neutral to that particular part of circuit. The other part was separated, and it meant that those 2 lights could now work independently. It just needed labelling. So after that, everything started coming on perfectly again. We had no more issues, the breaker wasn't tripping anymore, and we tested all the cabling to make sure it was all fine. The faulty section of cabling was now disconnected and safe. After that, it was a mammoth clear up and getting all the floors back down again as we normally do. And it was another fault find done, another happy customer because we didn't have to rip up her bathroom floor to get the job done. You know the score by now. Give us a follow and follow us for more fault finds.